So now let's talk about RDS backup. So first of all, you have automated backups. And what it means that this service, RDS service, will automatically do a daily full backup of the database during your database maintenance window. But on top of it, every 5 minutes, there's going to be the transactions log being backed up. That means that the earliest backup you have is 5 minutes before now. That means that from these automated backups, you can restore to any point of time up until 5 minutes ago. And for the automated backup retention, you can say between 1 to 35 days of retention. And if you wanted to disable this feature, you would set 0 to disable automated backups. The second option is to do manual DB snapshots, manual database snapshots. And these, as the name indicates, are manually triggered by the user. But the benefit of it is that this backup that you do manually, you can retain it for as long as you want. So automated backups expire, whereas DB snapshots that are manual can be retained for as long as you want. So here is a trick. When would you use backups? Obviously to backup your data, but also if you want to save some costs. So say, for example, you have an RDS database and you know that you're going to use it only 2 hours per month. Instead of stopping the database, in which, for example, you will still have to pay for the storage even though your database is stopped, what you can do is that after using it for 2 hours, you do a snapshot and then you delete the original database. The snapshot is costing you way less than the actual storage of the RDS database. And when you're ready to use again the database, you would restore the snapshot and use that. So it's a little trick and it can come up in the exam. Now for Aurora backups, it is actually quite similar. You have automated backups from 1 to 35 days, but they cannot be disabled. So on RDS, they could be disabled, but not on Aurora. And you have a point in time recovery at any point of time in that time frame. So you can recover to whatever you want. Now for manual DB snapshots, they can also be manually triggered by the user and you retain them for as long as you want. So as you can see, Aurora and RDS backups are quite similar. Now, what about the restore options? The first thing is that you can restore an RDS or Aurora backup or snapshots, they're the same thing, into a new database. So anytime you restore an automated backup or a manual snapshot, then it will create a new database. The other option is that you can restore a MySQL RDS database from S3. And S3, we haven't seen it yet. It's a way to store objects in the cloud on AWS. It's a very popular service. And the idea is that you will create a backup of your on-premises database, and then you will place it onto Amazon S3, which is some object storage. And finally, there is the option in RDS to restore the backup file from Amazon S3 onto a new RDS instance running MySQL. And if you wanted to instead restore to a MySQL Aurora cluster, what you can do is that you take a backup again of your on-premises database, so externally, and then you used to use a software called Percona Extra Backup. It only works with this for now. Then the backup file of Percona Extra Backup goes onto Amazon S3, and from this you can restore the backup file onto a new Aurora cluster running MySQL. So the difference here is that for restoring into RDS MySQL, you just need a backup of your database. For restoring into Aurora MySQL, what you need to do is to do a backup using Percona Extra Backup, and then from S3 into your Aurora DB cluster. Okay, so those are restore options for either the snapshots or the database dumps onto Amazon S3. And finally, there is a last feature you need to know about called the Aurora database cloning. So it allows you to create a new Aurora DB cluster from an existing one, hence the name cloning. So say you have a production Aurora database and you clone it into a new Amazon Aurora database, for example, a staging Aurora, in which you're going to be able to do your development or your test without impacting the production database. And it's actually faster to use the Aurora database cloning than to do a snapshot and restore. So the new database is going to use the same cluster volume, and that's why it's much faster. And then it will change over time as the updates are being made onto the new database. Therefore, database cloning is very fast, cost-effective, and it does not impact the production database when you do, for example, create a clone from a production database to create a staging database. Okay, so it's something you need to know for the exam. Now you know all the backup and restore and cloning options for Aurora and RDS. I hope you liked it, and I will see you in the next lecture.